Victoria on a knife edge right now, whether or not Melbourne will possibly enter another lockdown. Let's hope not, but what's happening right now? Is it different to last year? What could be done differently? Joining me live is my panel, Labor MP Peter Khalil from the Liberal Party, Trent Zimmerman. Thanks both for your time.
Thanks, Tom.
Incredible to hear near the start of this that we heard again, contact tracing could be better. They slipped up. I mean, this is a bad error, isn't it?
You know, wherever the errors were, whether they originally in around South Australia, because that's where sort of the source case was, or around the contact tracing, we have said it time and time again, get that contact tracing right, improve that. I think, to be fair to the Victorian health authorities, that has improved like exponentially over the past 8 months or so. But yeah, mistakes are made. Humans make mistakes.
Part of the issue is getting the wrong supermarket.
Yeah, that was part of the issue.
The costliness of this, and if it has to go into lockdown,
I mean,
more eyes need to look over this.
I hope we don't go into lockdown. The next 24 hours are going to be really important to determine if all that contact tracing of primary and secondary contacts are done and done well, and you haven't got this community transmission. The troubling case is the person who went to these nightclubs and went everywhere, and whether you can follow through on all those contacts. So we're at a very sensitive time over the next 24 hours. But I will say this, I just, again, want to encourage people, go and get vaccinated, because we can avoid all of this stuff when we get that vaccination level up, and go and get your vaccination. I'll book mine in. So, you know, if you're eligible, I should say, you should go and get vaccinated.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, for all the debate around what's happening supply and the rollout, staggering to see how empty some of these big centres were. This did start from hotel quarantine in South Australia, someone that got the virus in quarantine. It's not the best method for getting people back, is it, these not so well ventilated hotels?
Well, I think if you actually look at the course of the last 12 months and the sheer volume, hundreds of thousands of people that have been through hotel quarantine, that the system has worked nationally exceptionally well, 99.9% effective. There obviously have been outbreaks, and we had last year the particular dire situation in Victoria, which led to hopefully improvements in their own hotel quarantine system. So I think it is a system that has made sense, because you're utilising a large volume existing asset close to where the medical staff are, close to where the police staff are. It has made sense. But I think
could it have been better? I mean, this is the question. We're more than a year in,
but I think
what
this case highlights in terms of the debate about quarantine is that the person from South Australia had done his quarantine, is my understanding. So quarantine can never be 100% airtight.
Yeah, but this is the point. The theory was that they did their quarantine,
they caught it,
and got it in quarantine.
Caught it in the quarantine.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
But I think that you can never have a system, be it hotel quarantine or the Howard Springs type facility, where you can guarantee.
No guarantee, but you can make it a lot more likely. The more we know about COVID, the more we know about aerosols. And there's been all sorts of studies done. We've had experts on the program say some of these hotels are not built for it. And
as we've gone through this pandemic with a brand new disease, hopefully states have learned about managing their hotels better, what hotels.
So this is South Australia's fault?
No, I'm not going to lay blame. I don't think.
Well, you said states need to learn. You've had a crack at Victoria previously.
I made the point that I think states have learned through this process. As
favourite sport of Sydney siders to have a crack at Victorians. Can I just say though, I don't want to make it too political, because this is and Trent, I just want to disagree a little bit here, because the point about the hotel quarantine, yes, states and territories, both Labor and Liberal governments in the states have done a really terrific job with the hotel quarantine system. Our critique of this, and it has been ad nauseum, that the federal government is responsible for quarantine, and the federal government and Scott Morrison should have put more resources and effort into setting up federal quarantine facilities, even just to increase the capacity to actually get more Australian citizens back, rather than just rely on the hotel quarantine. But when you look at, Tom said, you look at the hotel quarantine, there are issues around whether they're built to do quarantine because of
what's your response to that?
Well, I think firstly, we have done exactly that. I mean, we're spending $500 million on
but one facility in all that time.
After 12 months.
2,000 people. It's not just after 12 months. It was operational months ago, but it's been ramping up in size. We're talking about capacity for 2,000 people. That's equivalent to almost a third of what the
you could have put this up.
The crux of this seems to be this, because the federal government says the states agreed to take on hotel quarantine.
Correct.
They did. That didn't preclude the federal government from saying, this is moving much slower than we thought. We've got Howard Springs, we've got tens of thousands of people that want to come home. Let's get another facility.
Well, I think firstly...
The federal government could have done that, couldn't it?
Well, I think firstly, because overall the hotel quarantine system has worked. Secondly, there have been all types of outlandish proposals, for example, to use defence bases.
But
which is
why wasn't the
nonsensical.
federal government getting
No, it's not
proposals on the
nonsensical.
table?
But some of the defence chiefs said we could get this up and running within weeks.
But the challenge
and they've
with
got the
defence-
hazmat
The challenge
capability.
with
They've got
defence
the.
bases, they're not set up for the isolation of individuals or small groups.
Okay, the point though,
Common facilities,
I know you're
common
doing an
bathrooms,
admirable job of defending your Prime Minister, but frankly, he has abrogated responsibility on what is a federal responsibility, a Commonwealth responsibility, and made all sorts of excuses to mitigate risk on him politically, rather than showing leadership as the Prime Minister of this country and saying, yes, the states, I'll come and help. Yep, get the hotel quarantine stuff straight away. That's what we agreed at National Cabinet, and I'll then do the work necessary for Howard Springs and other federal facilities. Don't tell me that
Trent,
couldn't have
quick
been done
response.
12
I want to
months
get
ago.
another topic here.
So I think that's exactly what we have done. We've put the $500 million into expanding Howard Springs. It's proved a very important
congratulations.
facility in the scheme of this quarantine process. But overall, the hotel quarantine system has been effective.
Okay.
Never be 100% airtight, but it has been effective.